Shane Van Gisbergen has completed his second Cup Series trip to Circuit of the Americas and finishes in 6th position after dominating the early portion of the race. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel and welcome back to the video. As I just said a second ago, Shane Van Gisbergen has completed his second Cup Series trip to Circuit of the Americas and finishes in 6th position. Now, Shane Van Gisbergen had qualified in 6th after being the fastest car in practice earlier in the weekend and looked to be the guy to be going into this race. Early in the event, Shane did not get the best start going into turn number 1, but his teammate Ross Chastain was sent it really hard into turn number 1. This would give a big advantage to Shane because he moved up to around 3rd or 4th position. Chase Elliott got spun, his teammate Connor Zilch got collected in the incident, and Denny Hamlin got collected as well. And Shane moved up to around 4th or 3rd position. Then he got up to 3rd position, I believe passing Kyle Busch at that point, and would be up to 3rd position at that point. Meanwhile, there was really good racing up front between Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick up front, but Bubba Wallace would get a penalty. This would give advantage to Shane because Shane would get around Bubba Wallace after the incident. He moved up to 2nd position. Now, on the short runs, SVG did not have the speed, but on the long runs, he had the best car in the field and was running down Tyler Reddick for the race lead. Reddick would lead the first 8 or 9 laps, but eventually Shane got up behind Tyler Reddick, got a really good run on him, and was able to pass Tyler Reddick, I believe, going into turn number 15, and was able to take the race lead. But he had a really big pursuer coming behind him, and that was Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch had a really fast car in the race today and was keeping up with SVG for a little bit, but Shane started pulling away about a couple tenths every single lap and was starting to pull away every lap that he could. But Kyle Busch was maintaining and gaining a ton of ground on him. And it looked like the Kyle Busch was going to have a chance. But then at the end of stage number 1, Shane Van Gisbergen, Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, AJ Allmendinger, all the guys up front contending for the lead, they would all come down pit road. This would give the advantage, I believe, to Bubba Wallace at that point and Joe Logano in 2nd. But Shane would come off pit road first, but Kyle Busch was right behind him. And as they came off pit road, Kyle tried everything he could to get by Shane Van Gisbergen, but couldn't get by him at the end, as Bubba Wallace would come off the corner and win stage number 1, and Shane would come off the corner and finish in 3rd position in stage number 1, getting a lot of stage points. On the ensuing restart, Kyle Busch would restart on the outside and Shane Van Gisbergen restart on the inside. But like I mentioned earlier, Shane Van Gisbergen would get an absolute abysmal restart and would lose a ton of ground and drop to 3rd position behind Kyle Busch and also AJ Allmendinger. But like earlier in the run, his car would start coming back in once again, and a few laps into the run was able to pass Kyle Busch for the lead. But then a couple laps later, Kyle Busch was able to pass Allmendinger, SVG right back for the lead. And then Shane Van Gisbergen, after about 10 laps, as his long run speed started coming in, he is able to pass Kyle Busch back for the race lead, but started pulling away a little bit as Allmendinger was also pursuing as well, as his car was really, really good on the long run. They would try to close in, but he started pulling away. SVG would come down pit road before the end of stage number 2, and he was doing a really good job hanging on to those tires. And he had a little bit of a slower pit stop compared to Kyle Busch, and Kyle Busch actually would get a really good run coming off pit road and pass Shane Van Gisbergen for the lead on the track of the guys that would be on the lead on the next restart. Meanwhile, Ryan Preece and a couple of guys like Ryan Blaney would stay out. Ryan Preece would come off the corner and win stage number 2. Shane would come off the corner, I believe, around 6th or 7th position and get another 4 or 5 stage points after leading around 20 to 21 laps of the race. And then on the ensuing restart for Shane, he would get another really, really bad restart and would drop from being in 2nd position and instead would drop to around 5th or 6th position at that point behind guys like Chase Briscoe, AJ Allmendinger, Tyler Reddick, and William Byron and Christopher Bell as well, as those guys got in front of him. But as the run progressed and went on, Shane started making up a little bit of that ground. He got by Chase Briscoe eventually a few laps later, and then also was able to get by them at that point. And then he started chasing up front. Meanwhile, earlier in the run, his teammates Connor Zilch and Daniel Schwartz had taken each other out, and their races unfortunately came to an end because they got a ton of damage at the end of the event. It looked like the Shane was going to have a chance and opportunity to gain and was catching the guys in front of him like AJ Allmendinger. But then strategy came into play with around 30 laps to go in the race. Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell and AJ Allmendinger would all come down pit road before Shane Van Gisbergen. Of course, Christopher Bell stayed out a little bit longer to try to play the long game. He would come down pit road with about 26 or 27 laps to go. Meanwhile, SVG decided to stay out to try to play the long game. And with about 24, 25 to go in the race, Shane would come down pit road and would emerge around 8th or 9th position. But he was starting to charge his way back up to the front because he had the fresher tires. And his tires were going to play a big role at the end because I think he would have had a chance to catch up and maybe be a contender up for the race. But everything would change with about 20 laps to go when Denny Hamlin would overshoot the corner, go into the gravel, and get Austin Dillon stuck in the gravel as well, bringing out the caution, and this would put Shane in a really bad position. Now, we're all thinking that fresh tires were going to help him have a chance to win, but just like the prior restarts, Shane would get absolutely an abysmal restart. His teammate would jump him, other guys in the field would end up jumping him in the field, and Shane would drop all the way back from about 8th position all the way back to around 11th or 12th. But he started recovering. Older tires really started playing a factor. AJ Allmendinger started struggling. Noah Gragson wasn't really good on the shorter runs or the longer runs either as the race progressed. But up front, he had a really good battle between Christopher Bell, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, and Kyle Busch, and those guys were starting to charge. Meanwhile, Ross Chastain and Shane were battling for a couple laps, but they were both charging their way back up to the front, as Ross would be around 6th position and Shane would be around 7th. But Chase Elliott got around both those guys, and SVG got by Ross Chastain as well. Apparently, Ross had moved out of the way from Chase Elliott because of the contact that happened on lap number 1. Shane would take advantage of that, and he moved up to 6th position at that point, or 7th, because they all would eventually pass Noah Gragson with a few laps to go in the event, and Shane started making up a ton of ground at the end of the race on guys like Kyle Busch. But coming off in the final quarters of the race, Shane would run out of time and would lose all the ground he had an opportunity to get, as coming off the final corners, Christopher Bell will hold off a hard-charging William Byron and Tyler Reddick to pick up the win, and Shane would come off the corner and finish in 6th position. Shane had a really, really good car today, but unfortunately the long run speed just wasn't there, but unfortunately, short run speed just was not there today for SVG, and that's something that Trackhouse Racing is really going to have to work on. I think they're going to have to try to find a balance, because while their long run speed was really, really good, and historically from his racing days, he's really, really good on long runs, he just did not have enough long runs to get up there and contend for the win. It's disappointing to see him not pick up the victory, because I think he had the fastest car a lot of this race. I think he led the second most laps behind Kyle Busch, who I believe led 43 laps of this race today. Shane, I believe, led 23 or 24. So he led a ton of laps in this race today, but unfortunately just not enough to get to victory lane. And this is a little bit of a missed opportunity for the team to give him a chance and opportunity, because this is one of those races that you got to get in position and you got to put yourself in position to win. And unfortunately just was not enough today for SVG to win. Luckily, you've got other road course on the schedule coming up, but it's not going to be for a couple months. The next opportunity for a win coming at least at the road courses will probably be Mexico City. I think I'll have a pretty big advantage there, because no driver's really been there in about 20 years at this point. The last time any Cup driver in the series has ran there was like Kyle Busch back in like 2008, I'm pretty sure. Granted, he did win the race in the Xfinity Series in 2008. But other than that, there's not a lot of guys in the field who ran the Mexico City race back in 2008. A little disappointed to see him not go to victory lane, but at the end of the day, he did have a good run today, finishing 6th. I think if they can work on the long run, the short run speed, that's the thing that could put him in position. But they had a good run today, but disappointing to not see him go to victory lane. Now, next week's going to be Phoenix, which granted in the Xfinity Series, he ran quite well there in both races. He, of course, finished inside the top 10 at Phoenix in the spring race last year, and he did finish inside the top 12 in the championship race. I think SVG could have a solid run. It's a track that's going to suit him, I think, very, very well. He's sitting 18th in the regular season points currently at the moment, so if there's a positive, he's not too far below the cutoff line currently at the moment. He just needs to be consistent on these ovals, which I think is the goal for him, is to get better on the ovals so he can compete against his teammates like Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain throughout the year. Compete against guys like Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott and Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell and William Byron, all those guys in the field. Today was a little bit disappointing. Did not see him go to victory lane, but he did have a solid run, all things considered. We'll see how he ends up doing as we get farther into the season, but a solid day, but not the best day that Shane Van Gisbergen could have had today at COTA. So, that is going to be it for the Shane Van Gisbergen video of him finishing 6th. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go below that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What are your thoughts about Shane Van Gisbergen's performance today at Circuit of the Americas? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, we're going to have a NASCAR news video discussing news over the course of the last couple days. We got some Casey Kane news to talk about, maybe some Catherine Legge news, and maybe some beef between Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain and other driver beefs throughout the weekend as well. We're going to have a race picks video coming up later this week for Phoenix. Content of people like Haley Deegan, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Connor Zillis, Jr. Motorsports, Matt Benedetto, Chandler Smith, Eric Almirola, Kyle Larson, other big names in the industry like Cleus Farm, Matt Benedetto, you name it. All those people get talked about on the channel really soon as we get farther into the season. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.